everybody? Long time no talk. I'm a little bit losing my voice because I have been traveling and staying up late and doing all kinds of debauchery. I am actually in the Cosmopolitan Hotel of Los Angeles right now with this beautiful art piece on the wall. We have censored for YouTube appropriateness. So yeah, how's everyone doing? Sorry about the time confusion. Usually I'm on the East Coast. Again, I'm in Las Vegas right now. So I am all over the place with times, but I'm having a great time and it's super fun. So the moment you've been waiting for, the reason you're all here is to hear my notes from court on Wednesday. Now, I'm really disappointed I didn't bring my official Britney notebooks, but Thomas brought me this. Thank you so much, Thomas, for allowing me to report history in the courtroom. So let's just get into it. Now, I know there have been a couple other accounts who have already shared a lot of this information, so I'm not saying this is going to be necessarily new, but this is just going to be my impression and my version of what happened in the courtroom, and I'll give you a little bit of insight as a lawyer as well. But yeah, so make sure you're following Free Britney LA and the Britney Law Army on Twitter because they have already given a lot of these updates if you just like to, read through. Because y'all, I got to be honest, after court and stuff, I feel very drained. Excuse me. So sometimes it's like pretty hard for me to like do this, you know what I mean? So anyway, now that that's all done. Okay. So, we'll just jump right into my handwritten notes. This is from Wednesday, January 19th, 2021. Sorry, I just like have all these issues. Okay. So the court hearing was scheduled 1:30 and I start just taking down my impressions or whatever. 1:29, Matthew Rosengart walks past me and I'm like with my little mask on, and I'm like, and he did the little mask smile and I was like so excited. So yeah, I will also say something really weird happened. Okay, let me just rewind. So before we go into the courthouse, as y'all know, or before we go into the courtroom, as y'all know, we have to sit on these benches. Like if you've ever been in an older church, they're kind of like pews. And we have to sit on these benches to wait, and make sure that we have our spot. So after the last court hearing I appeared in, or after the September court hearing, sorry, when was it? November 12th. After the November 12th hearing, I came on here and did a very similar live, and I basically told y'all that I think it's unconstitutional, the amount of access that they are limiting from the public. I just, I called out Officer Lee by name and all that. So Officer Lee was there again, and remember, he was the one that wouldn't poke his head out the door and let just 3 more people come in after TriStar's lawyers stepped up and left. Well, he was there again. And the weirdest thing happened. He walks in front of us, and he stops in front of me and he looks at me and again, we're wearing masks and I didn't have these on. And he goes, "I know your name." And he said it in a nice way, but it was kind of weird. And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Britney, I think Britney is your name." And I was like, "Nobody really calls me that. I go by BJ, but yeah, I guess Britney is on my birth certificate." But it was kind of weird. Did this guy look me up? I do know that we do have to turn over our driver's licenses in order to get into the courtroom, which again, I think is unconstitutional. I don't think that you should have to do that. But I'm not about to get in a fight with these people because then they're not going to let me in. So then I'm not going to be able to tell you what they did. But after this is all said and done, I have a lot to say about the unconstitutional nature of restricting meaningful public access to our institutions that is going on in the Stanley Moss Courthouse. But don't y'all think it's weird that he stopped in front of me, pointed at me, and was like, "I know your birth certificate name"? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe it was because I called him out as Officer Lee. But all that being said, the police officers, and I don't know if it's because, I don't know why. I don't even want to speculate why it might be, but I've been in this court room at least a half dozen times at this point, and this was the nicest that these police officers have ever been. I'll also say there was a lot fewer people to deal with this time. There were 50, instead of letting 10, they let 15 members of the public into the courtroom, but it did look like everybody who wanted to get into the courtroom actually this time did get in. So that was kind of the lead up of what happened before, right? So I will say, the cops are getting a lot nicer. Thankfully, maybe it's because they got used to seeing us. Maybe they're, I don't even want to speculate why, but I'm glad, because they are public servants. They do work for the public. They do serve the public. And so they should not be having these nasty, disgusting attitudes like they have been having the previous times. And so I'm glad that they have started to understand and realize that their job is to serve the public and not to be tyrants. So thank you very much, Stanley Moss Courthouse, directed by Officer Lee. That was great. Okay. Now, we're getting to 1:30. So then the clerk comes in and the clerk starts taking everybody's appearances. So this is who I wrote down that was in the LA Court Connect, which is like zooming in, like who's on Zoom. Gladstone Jones, Lynn Spears' lawyer. Gerald Cohen, Jamie's former lawyer. Geraldine Weil, Jamie's former lawyer. Then someone named Samson Stein, I think. I got that name right. He is one of TriStar's lawyers. So if you need to look up Samson Stein, I think that's his name. Lorianne Wright, who is Jody Montgomery's lawyer. Ronald Peterson, who is a lawyer from Loeb and Loeb, which was former litigation counsel for Britney. Ashley Reargun or something like that. I think that's another TriStar lawyer. Eric Adler, I believe, is Jamie's lawyer. Justin Gold, the lawyer for the former conservator of the estate, John Zabel. David Nelson, another Loeb and Loeb lawyer. Sam Ingham was there, and actually he did speak quite a bit. We'll get into that. Lynn Swanson, who is, I believe, Lynn Spears' attorney. Or maybe Lynn Swanson is Jody's attorney. I think Lynn Swanson might be Jody's attorney. I have to double check. Vivian Letharine was there and yapping her gums. Diana Feinstein, I don't know who she was a lawyer for, maybe Lou. Then you had Lynn Spears, who I don't know if she ever actually was able to connect. She was having connection difficulties. Jamie Spears was there, and he was like, James Spears, father of Britney Spears. And it's like, I don't know why, like, you needed to announce that. Like, we all freaking know that. Like, it's like still his claim to fame in the courtroom. I'm the father of Britney Spears, so I get the father of Jamie. That was basically what I got, like the gist. And then we had Jody Montgomery and John Zabel. Then there's a few attorneys in the courtroom, which are Matt Rosengart, Lisa McCurdy, and then I think Justin Gold is in the courtroom too, or something like that. There was a couple more attorneys in the courtroom. They stood up, raised their hands, swore to tell the truth. Alex Weingarten was also in the courtroom, which is Jamie's new lawyer, who we like to call Big Sloppy. Now, I will say, Big Sloppy, if you're watching this video, and I know you are because you were very cranky about all of us talking about you and all of us talking about this case in the courtroom, we're going to get into that. But I will say, Alex, you did look a lot nicer. So I do appreciate you dressing up for court this time. You actually wore a suit. It looked nice. I understand it's harder to get suits made in your size, but I do really appreciate that you put in that effort. Maybe next time, not the surgical KN95, maybe something like a black mask would do better next time. But to be honest, 100% turnaround from the first time I saw you in court. You looked a lot better. I really appreciate you giving the respect to the court that it deserves. I appreciate you giving the respect to the case that it deserves by actually putting on a suit that morning. You looked a lot better. Maybe we'll have to stop calling you Big Sloppy. Jury's out. We'll see what you looking like at the next court. But basically, he looked a lot better. He was wearing an actual suit. So good job, Big Sloppy. That was good. The mask was like, I'm gonna say boot on the mask. Get you a little bit less of a cumbersome mask. But otherwise you were looking just fine. No complaints. Okay. So he did stand up, put his right hand up, and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth to help him God, which is gonna become important soon because he's going to get called a liar to his face by Matt Rosengart. We'll get there. Okay. So 1:35, fashionably late as usual, Brenda Penny finally decides to meander into the courtroom 5 minutes late, so leaving everyone waiting on her. This is like honestly very punctual for her because usually she's even later than that. So she stumbles in the courtroom from her chambers, doing God knows what back there, and makes sure to tell us that we're not allowed to have phones, electronic devices, not allowed to take pictures, not allowed to record, not allowed to disrupt, not allowed to gesture, which is ableist as shit. I have autism. Gesturing is what I do. No waving arms, no distractions, blah, blah, blah. So basically she threatens us. If we make so much as keep, we're getting kicked out of the courtroom, which is our right to be in. Again, like there's some extent to which I understand that you shouldn't stand up and be distraction in the court, but like No laughing, no waving, no moving, no shuffling. Like, girl, chill out. People got to move. We're going to be in here for 2 hours. Anyway. Okay, so then she takes appearances. Again, you have to, the weird thing is they take roll. The clerk takes roll before the judge comes in. Then the judge comes in and she takes the roll again. So it's like the first 15, 20 minutes of the whole thing are just calling roll. So she takes roll, takes appearances basically. And then she did confirm Eric Adler is a TriStar attorney, and Diana Feinstein is also a TriStar attorney. Now, there's Samson Stein and Ashley Jurgen. Again, they're just saying these names and I'm like scribbling them as fast as I can. But if y'all are the type that like to look up lawyers, those are the names of the people who were in the courtroom. So you can try and look up like lawyer, whatever. And they were from a law firm called Swanson and Cabot, I believe. That was Samson Stein and Ashley Jurgen. Thank you so much, Stephanie. But yeah, so there was like 4 attorneys who was like, I think it was Lou's attorneys or TriStar or something like that. Okay. So then Judge Penny starts talking and she says, the issues today I wanted to divide into 3 different stacks, 3 different categories, as you will. First, she wanted to talk about the issues that we could dispose of today. She's like, there's some stuff that we just can get done today and I want to get that done. Number 2, there are matters that are just trailing along and we haven't figured them out yet, but they've been on the calendar for a long time. And I don't want to let those get lost in the shuffle. There maybe aren't as quite as an emergency to get done, but they've been pending for a long time. We really need to address when we're going to finally address those, which, I mean, I agree, but like, girl, don't act like you're in a hurry now. And then number 3, the third category of things that Judge Penny wanted to address was going to be the newly filed petition. Now, the newly filed petition, I did not read on this YouTube channel, but I did read those on my Instagram. So if you want to have a like little bit lower production value, just going over what was said in those petitions, this third category, I did those on Instagram. You can find my Instagram linked below and you can go and watch those on IGTV. Okay. So Judge Penny had a question or concern concerning the order to terminate the conservatorship, which, if you will remember, as of Wednesday, it had not actually been signed. Judge Brenda Penny had not signed an order to end the conservatorship. And so I guess there was this legal technicality that made it to where Britney wasn't fully, completely 100% free. There was still these, little loose ends that had to be tied up. And so that was the climate of the environment that we were in at the beginning of the court hearing on Wednesday. Okay, so there were like 15 matters to take care of. Matter 5007, and from now on, all these numbers I'm going to say, they start with 500, but I'm just going to leave that part out. So issue number 7, and these are going to come in no order because they've been all on the calendar for so long, they're all mixed up. So 5007, petition by Sam Ingham to get paid, and the petition by Sam Ingham to pay Loeb and Loeb. Now, I'm going to give y'all a little sneak peek here. 90% of the issues we talked about in court were pertaining to fees. 99% of what we talked about in court was lawyers trying to get money from Britney's estate. And I believe Matt Rosengart did a very good job of telling them to chill out. So number 7, right? No particular order. We're just calling this number 7 because that's what it's labeled in the court file. Number 7, Ingham's petition for him to get paid, and Ingham's petition for Loeb and Loeb, who has done nothing to get paid. Then you have issues 8, 9, and 11, which were 3 different fee petitions from Sam Ingham. One from October 2018 to 2019, one separate petition from October 2019 to September 2020, and a final petition, October 2020 to October 2021. Now, importantly, Sam Ingham and all the lawyers have been paid a percentage of their fees. In Sam Ingham's case, he's been paid 80% of these fees. He's just waiting for 20% of each year's fees. So it's not like they're sitting out here having been paid nothing. It's just this final 20% they're arguing over. Okay, the next issue, issue 10, was the petition by Vivian Lee Thorene's firm, Holland and Knight, and the petition by, thank you so much, Heart of Inspiration, and the petition by Gerald and Geraldine's firms for their fees, right? So you have Holland and Knight, Vivian asking for fees, Sam Ingham asking for fees, Loeb and Loeb asking for fees, Gerald asking for fees, Geraldine asking for fees. So this is all what Judge Penny is sitting here listing off, right? Then you have 5003, which is something to do with TriStar. And then issue number 2 had to do with sealing the termination plan, which we will get to. And then number 6 was the petition for Jody and her lawyer's fees, right? So just to recap, Ingham's asking for fees, Loeb and Loeb's asking for fees, Holland and Knight's asking for fees, Gerald is asking for fees, Geraldine is asking for fees, Jody Montgomery's asking for fees, Jody's lawyer is asking for fees, Lynn Spears' lawyers are now asking for fees. So that's all on the docket, plus sealing the termination plan. And then, Lynn's attorneys. And then finally, our 11th person who needs to slip in right under the buzzer, Big Sloppy, is asking for his fees. And not only the fees that he's already racked up, but this clown had the audacity to stand up and scream and yell and holler and get red in the face and sweat and rant because he believes that Britney Spears should still be keeping her purse open for Jamie to dig his little grubby hands in and pay Alex Weingarten for future fees. So we have Big Sloppy coming in, topping the whole thing off, saying, not only is it all these other 10 people asking for fees, me too, and I want the future fees of me rehabilitating Jamie's reputation. Okay. So then Judge Penny comes in and says, I would like, at the very extreme least, probably because she's been looking at headlines, to formally end the conservatorship. I want to sign the order. I do not want this lingering any longer. I want it done. I want it over. So does everyone agree with the termination order that has been submitted? Because I want to sign it. I'm paraphrasing, right? But that's the gist. That's what I got from it. And everyone agreed, yes, sign it. So there was a little sigh of relief across the courtroom, like not a real sigh because we would have all got kicked out, but tension was a little bit released because it was like, all right, good. She's going to finally sign that. I don't know what the holdup has been, but thank God it's going to get signed. So that was a good thing, in my opinion. And then Alex stands up and says, well, he doesn't stand up. And the thing is, in the court, the rule is you are supposed to stand up when you speak to the judge. Now, y'all know on this channel, like, I really think some of these like rules are a little antiquated, a little stupid. But if I'm trying to convince the judge that I respect her, I probably am still going to stand up and do the whole stand up while I'm talking thing, just because it's like judges notice when you don't. So he just stayed sitting down. He's like, Your Honor, I don't think you covered number 5001, which is my fee petition. And y'all, I know she did cover it because I just went over it with y'all. I wrote it down in this notebook. So I know she covered it. It's like, if that's the only thing he was sitting there worrying about, why didn't he pay better attention? Because I was like 50 feet farther back from him, like 15 feet farther back from him. And I heard it loud and clear, was able to take a note on it and everything else. Maybe if he stayed off his cell phone in the middle of court, texting his friends and playing Candy Crush or whatever else he's doing, he would know what the judge was saying. He sits there on his phone in court. Anyway, I digress. So he's like, I think you left out the one where we're talking about my fees. And then Matt Rosengart was like, no, Your Honor. And he stands up like and buttons his like, coat. And he says, no, Your Honor, you did cover that. You said it right around the time, blah, blah, blah. And then Big Sloppy looked stupid as usual. So, but honestly, like, you can't even blame Big Sloppy that much. Like, he's probably like not the best attorney in the whole world. Like, I'm sure Jamie went through a few different people before he arrived at Big Sloppy, but that's what he got. That's who will represent you. Somebody who doesn't even listen in court to know that their issue already came up on the table. Anyway. Okay. So they sorted that out. So then it's Brenda Penny, Judge Penny, talking to Matthew Rosengart. And she says, okay, in reference to Sam Ingham's fee request. Now, Sam Ingham is Judge Penny's special favorite. Anything and everything pretty much that Sam Ingham has asked for has always been granted. There has been a few exceptions, but Sam Ingham is a court worker. He is attached to the Stanley Moss Courthouse. So Judge Penny is, of course, going to be concerned about her bestie's fees. So she goes to Matt Rosengart and says, Matt, on the count of Ingham's fee request, what do you have to say? There haven't been any objections filed to it. So can we at least close out that today? Can we pay Sam the extra 20% that he's still owed for whatever. So then Rosengart stands up and he goes, well, there are some things on the calendar today that we will be able to get rid of. But Sam Ingham's fee petition is not one of them. And he says, I am fully prepared to address issue 5005, which is Alex Weingarten's fee petition. He said, I filed objections on the 14th. Now, this was the 19th. So Matthew Rosengart had filed the objections to Jamie getting more money. Again, those are on my Instagram. I didn't do them on YouTube. Go to my Instagram if you want to watch those. But he filed them on the 14th, but they didn't come up till the 18th late at night, and we all read them live together. Excuse me. I was parched. Okay. So what next? Okay. So Rosengart's like, I am fully prepared to address the issue of all of that. And in particular, I'm prepared to address the issue of objecting to Alex Weingarten, aka Big Sloppy's fees. And he said, I filed my objections on the 14th. And he was like, Your Honor, I really want you to make sure that you had the opportunity to read it and understand why we're objecting. And it was like, he kind of did file it kind of late. And then he said, we served courtesy copies on the court both yesterday and Friday afternoon. So basically that means he sent paper copies to the court as well, trying to get Judge Penny to read it before the court date. And he said, the objections filed on the 14th have both a brief and 7 exhibits. Plus we have a declaration from a former special agent with the FBI. And this lady is so impressive. She graduated as the valedictorian of her class in the FBI. So we already have her calling Jamie out on all his crimes and stuff. So we want you to read that before you agree to let Big Sloppy get all this money, because there's all this case law and everything else that says that Big Sloppy should not be getting paid and Jamie should not be getting paid because he has committed malfeasance and he has violated his fiduciary duty. Okay. Judge Brenda Penny said that wasn't in the court file. She didn't have an opportunity to read the thing that Rosengart had filed. Basically, Brenda Penny wasn't ready to hear the objections. But if she wasn't ready to hear the objections, then that necessarily means she wasn't ready to grant Big Sloppy all of his fees. So at least we knew that he wasn't going to be granted his money. And that aggravated him and it irritated him. And it kind of gave me the impression of like a little kid who you won't give them their iPad. It was very entitled the way he acted. He got red in the face, like I said. He was screaming. He was sweating. We'll get into that. Okay. So then Rosengart gets into the petition filed by Sam Ingham again. And he says those petitions are inextricably intertwined with the objections. So basically Rosengart is saying, okay, Judge Penny, you might think that Sam Ingham's fees are not related to anything else about having to do with Jamie's lawyer's fees, but I'm going to show that it actually is related. We're not giving Sam Ingham his money yet because he might have been in with it on these criminals, basically is what Matt Rosengart was implying. He said, those petitions, thank you so much for the super chat, the Miller girl. Also, thank you, Jessica, for the super sticker. Thank you, Jesse. Okay, so apparently Sam Lutfi has posted some recent evidence. We'll get to that maybe after we finish the court notes because I'm definitely interested in that. So then Rosengart goes, specifically, there are significant, credible pieces of evidence of criminal misconduct. We have served Jamie and TriStar with requests for discovery. Thank you so much, Tatiana. We have served Jamie and TriStar with requests for discovery. We're in the middle of doing a whole investigation. And Rosengart's like, so in the meantime, thank you, Winona. So in the meantime of this investigation, we don't want anybody paid anything. So all these fee petitions, Rosengart argued, should be held on hold. Nobody should get their fee petition, as far as what he's saying right now, especially Sam Ingham. So he says, we are still reviewing what Big Sloppy sent us. And Matt Rosengart said, we think more information is going to come to light to address those September 28th objections that we filed. He said, we may even file more objections based on more evidence that we receive. We have not received all the evidence. So Matthew Rosengart said, there's really two categories of what he wants to address. One bucket is the accounting, right? What Lou Taylor filed as accounting. Remember, she charged Britney's estate for all her lawyer and everything, and to sue Brian Kuchar, and then maybe she charged Britney's estate to settle that lawsuit, the $20,000 alleged dollars. We don't know. An investigation is ongoing. And so he said there's that one issue with the accounting. All this stuff, I mean, we don't even have a complete accountings. He said, this lady didn't even report everything. We don't know what that stuff is. The number two issue we have is going to be Sam Ingham and Loeb fees. I don't know why he put those two things in two buckets. I'm just reporting to y'all what he said. And he said, on the accounting, and this I did gasp audibly. Oops, I went. He said, on the accounting, take your note, y'all taking notes. On the accounting, Lou Taylor, TriStar's accounting reports how she had put all this, and they want it to be approved so she can get hundreds of thousands of dollars to sue fans and stuff. He said, we're going to be asking for a trial. We want to go to trial on an evidentiary hearing, and we're going to want to be doing that. And I was just like, yes, I'm already booking my flights for that trial. I will be there. I don't care if it's 3 weeks long. I will live under a bridge if I have to be at that trial. Okay, anyway. And then Rosengart goes, and we're going to be wanting a trial date to be set for that. Then Brenda Penny comes up, and she goes, okay, basically she was like, okay, are you going to object to each and every petition? Because so far you haven't actually objected to Sam Ingham's petition. And then Rosengart comes back and goes, we will be filing objections. We need an evidentiary hearing, so we need a trial. He said, we're going to need at least 150 days before you set that trial date, because Rosengart said, prior to me coming on the scene, not one party in this case ever requested discovery, ever, for any reason. And so I'm doing 13 years worth of discovery right now. He said, we served those requests. Thank you, Craig. I don't think it's the same Diane Feinstein, no. We served discovery requests. And Jamie has not yet meaningfully responded to it. Basically, he's tattletaling on Jamie Spears in the court and saying, look, we asked him for all kind of information. He did not give it to us. So we're still waiting. Sorry, it's not our fault this is late. It's his. Can you tell him to turn over his stuff? And so then he says, we served a second round of discovery, which is Exhibit 7, which we have not read on this YouTube channel. Maybe we'll read it later. I'm on vacation right now, to be honest. Maybe when I get back, I'll do it. He said Weingarten knows, so Big Sloppy knows that Jamie has a remaining fiduciary duty to cooperate, no matter if he gets his fees or not. No matter if he gets granted fees or not, Jamie still has literally a legal obligation to cooperate with Rosengart's investigation. And it does not matter whether Jamie gets money from Britney or not. He said, the manner, thank you so much, Emily. The manner, Rosengart said, that Big Sloppy, all the rest of them have sent over the responses to discovery has been unorganized. He said they didn't even put the Bates stamps, the Bates labels on the bottom of it. They just basically turned over 13 years worth of crap that we're all having to search through. They didn't put it in folders. They didn't put it in buckets. They just sent us crap. And we're having to look through and make sure, what is each thing even? What year is this from? What's the context here? So then Matthew Rosengart said, but, thank you, Justice B. Matt Rosengart says, but there is legal precedent, there is case law that says, hold on, I can't read my writing, hold on. Oh, this is good. Okay. So we've talked about this on my channel before, and we've speculated that the reason that Jamie all of a sudden wanted to end the conservatorship and wanted things to be over and everything like that was because he did not want to have to turn over his email and text communications regarding Britney Spears and the lawyers and all that. But here's the thing. Based on this Mueller and Stein case, according to Matt Rosengart, oh my gosh, Amber, my mom. Thanks, Mom. Oh, I don't want to live under a bridge. I should stop saying stuff like that before I make sure my mom's not in the chat. Okay. I won't live under a bridge, Mom. I'll just max out my credit card to stay in a hotel. Don't worry. Okay. So anyway, based on this Mueller and Stein case, Big Sloppy, Vivian Lee Thoreen, all the rest of the phalanx of lawyers is going to have to turn over email communications. And they're going to have to do it through Jamie. There is legal precedent. Jamie is not the person who had the attorney-client privilege with the lawyers. It was actually the conservatorship itself that had the attorney-client privilege. So Jamie is going to have to turn over emails with himself and his lawyers, emails with himself and security, emails with him and Lou, text, WhatsApp, Signal, all of it has to get turned over. But it has not been turned over as of yet. So he says on September 24th, thank you, KJ, the New York Times reported that Jamie illegally surveilled Britney. Now, Rosengart, remember, he's standing up. He's telling the judge this stuff. On September 27th or 24th, the New York Times came out and said Jamie illegally surveilled Britney. He said, there was phone monitoring by Jamie that monitored her texts between her lawyer and her. There was phone monitoring that monitored her therapy notes. And Your Honor, Jamie's lawyer had already told him that he was not legally entitled to Britney's therapy notes. So he broke the law whenever he accessed them. We have not seen any of these materials, but we know they exist because the New York Times said they saw the materials. And this former FBI special agent said she has corroborated that they exist. So why is it that this stuff hasn't been turned over to us, Your Honor? He said, B, as if that wasn't bad enough. B, Jamie Spears had a listening device placed in Britney's bedroom. And a whistleblower who worked for Black Box Security has already come out and said that. He had seen the duct tape, the SD card, the extra battery. He said, and that was in her bedroom. Matt Rosengart said, we are entitled to discovery on that information. Basically, we're entitled to that information. And he said, not only were they recording her, but it was contemporaneous and in real time. So the Team Con basically was reading Britney's therapy notes and her texts with her lawyer in the real time that it was happening, which is absolutely illegal. And frankly, if the state of California was allowing that to happen, unconstitutional. I mean, Matt Rosengart didn't say that part. He really does not talk bad about the state, which I find with that, well, I do take issue with. But I'm not the lawyer on this case. I guess he can do what he wants. But the state of California is to blame here, is at issue here, and it's kind of disappointing Matthew Rosengart hasn't even alluded to that, but I digress. So he said, if A and B happened, and A and B being monitoring the phone and recording in the bedroom, if those things happen, then there must be communications between Jamie Spears and his representatives. And Jamie nor his representatives have ever produced that information, have ever produced that communication, and we're entitled to it. So we're going to need 150 days to make sure that we're going to be able to get all those communications. And then Matthew Rosengart goes, but wait, Your Honor, listen. That's only really one of about 12 categories of misconduct that we plan to prove at that trial. For the sake of today's hearing, we really don't even want to get into all of it. This is just 1 out of 12 categories. And based on that one category alone, which is illegally surveilling Britney, and the fact that he's hiding his evidence from us, we are entitled to not pay him his fees until it's all sorted out. He said, once we get all the info, it will shed light on the other fee petitions, including Sam Ingham's. We need additional time to review all the documents, and we want an evidentiary hearing and a trial. So then Brenda Penny goes and asks something to Geraldine Weil. And Geraldine, it's because Geraldine Weil started interrupting from Zoom. Now, again, I don't know why none of these idiots show up to court. Like, imagine the uneven kind of like, imagine trying to fight with somebody who's in court in front of the judge and you're on Zoom. Excuse me. Girl, you are lazy. Come to court. Everyone's here. This is where it's happening. Anyway, so Geraldine Weil goes, I motion to strike Matthew Rosengart's statements. They're all based on hearsay and they're not admissible. Blah, blah, blah. And then Matthew Rosengart goes, then Brenda Penny goes, okay, Miss Weil, I need you to understand we're not actually at trial. We're not in trial at the moment. So like the rules of evidence don't like necessarily like apply. And I literally chuckled. I went, because it's like these idiots, like I don't know what they do for their continuing legal education, but like any idiot in the world knows you can't motion to strike something at a conservatorship hearing that's not like, no, it's not an evidentiary motion to strike what? It's not a record, like a trial record. Like, I graduated 15 minutes ago and I know that, but it just goes to show these lawyers are just allowed to get away with playing kangaroo court and doing whatever they want in court, and usually there's nobody sitting there watching them, so they can get away with it. Nobody's checking them. It's all a big racket. Here comes Ingham, y'all, and he was mad and sassy on the phone. I didn't see him. He might have been on Zoom, but my eyesight is not the greatest, so I don't know. I just heard him. He said, well, Your Honor, we had anticipated that our fees were going to be approved. This is the first I've ever really heard about any objections. The first hint I got of any objections was an hour before court started. Thank you so much, Mike. Love it. You're doing. Keep going. We need more people like you in this world. You're welcome. And Sam goes, I haven't even gotten the objections, so there's no basis for me to respond. I'm not Mr. Spears. I'm not his lawyers. I don't know what I have to do with any of this. There's no connection between me and Mr. Weingarten. Mr. Weingarten came onto the case after I had left. I reserved my right to my fees. And then he says, there's ethical issues involved. And then Ingham said, also, if I have to get in a position to start fighting for my fees, then I might have to break my lawyer-client privilege and start telling all the truths. Like, he's basically like threatening to start telling Britney secrets. I don't know. Then, of course, they all start getting testy, because what Matthew Rosengart basically said and did was, all y'all who came here, all 10 of y'all who came here for your fees, you're not getting them today. Basically is what happened. The courtroom version of that. And they all start freaking out because it's millions of dollars worth of fees we're talking about when you combine it all together. I mean, they have already projected they've already gone to their firms and said, we're owed several $100,000 by Britney Spears, so you can go ahead and put that. I mean, they're all expecting this money. They feel entitled to it. So they'll start freaking out. Oh, Your Honor, I want to talk. Oh, I want to talk. It's like chaos, mass eruption. And here comes David Nelson, who's the Loeb and Loeb lawyer, the one who formerly represented Britney as well, who is in cahoots with Sam Ingham. Like, they're besties. It's obvious to tell. So David Nelson goes, Rosengart said he might hypothetically have some objections based on things that he might see in the future. He said, but he did not mention Loeb and Loeb. He did not link us to Jamie. And he said, we never represented Jamie. We never spoke to Jamie. And so he said, look, listen, Loeb and Loeb has been more than gracious. We've sat here quietly through all these, but we're tired of being involved in this case. We just want our fees and we want to leave. And then here comes Vivian Lee Thurene. She said, well, our fee petition has been lingering, daddy. and we need discovery and depositions and an evidentiary hearing. And so we agree that we'll just wait and we'll just go and we'll just do depositions. And I took that to be a threat, like Vivian being like, well, we're going to depose people. And it's like, bitch, I'm sure Britney Spears is not concerned about being deposed. She has literally been trafficked and abused. She can handle a deposition. And probably better than you because she doesn't have to lie about anything. Oh. So then here comes Weingarten, big sloppy. He goes, okay, Your Honor, let's just start with what we agree on. And at this point, he did stand up. And he said, first of all, everyone agrees. Letter A, number 1, Britney's conservatorship should be terminated. We all agree on the termination petition. We will all sign off on it. Can you just make sure the conservatorship is over so we can stop getting, he didn't say this part, but basically it seemed to me like, so we can stop getting dragged in the media because the conservatorship's over. Please, like, just end it so that that can be over. Please sign it. Let's get that done. Then B, let's start with where we disagree. B, the accounting petition. It needs to be set for a hearing. This is where we disagree. Big Sloppy said he only got Rosengart's objections the day before, so on the 18th. He said, and in the time before I was even able, and he's yelling, before I was even able to read the objections, I counted and I got 27 media inquiries. So he's really sassy and angry. He's like, how is the media getting things before me? Rosengart is planting stories in the media, and then he's creating a narrative. This man is sweating. He's red. He's like probably 6'3", like 400 pounds. This dude's enormous. He's screaming in the court. He's going, Rosengart is making up things and giving it to the media. It was very unhinged. It was very unhinged and like triggering.
I'm in a conservatorship.
He needs a conservatorship, maybe. He might need a conservatorship. Thank you, Marianne. Oh, you'll come with me under the bridge. Y'all, should we have an under the bridge party? Just kidding. We could have a like little party for the trial, though. We should. So he's screaming and he's going, all the allegation. This is what happens, Your Honor. This man puts allegations into the media, just like that New York Times story. And then he uses those allegations to put them into court documents. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's hearsay. He knows it's inappropriate, and I don't appreciate it. And the whole time, Rosengart's just sitting there like, what is this unhinged man doing? He didn't say that, but it was very like, we were kind of like, that was like not the way to do it if you're coming right out the gate. Now, listen, if it would have just been them in the courtroom, fine, but you have an audience. The New York Times is in here, girl. Like, so then he goes, I want to motion here today in court to unseal all of the records in this case, 100%. Because the public deserves to have, this is Big Sloppy, this is Jamie's lawyer. He said, because the public deserves to know everything that's gone on in this case, not just selective media stories that Jamie put, that Matthew Rosengart puts in the media. We need to unseal everything, like we're including medical records, everything, which I totally disagree with. And he goes, Britney goes on Instagram and her lawyer goes in the media and they say false things about my clients. But we are constrained based on these legal things. We are constrained because everything is sealed. The public has a right to know the actual truth and it will vindicate us. Now, remember, Big Sloppy is still sitting over here yelling and hollering, trying to get access to Britney's money. Like, this bitch hasn't even been paid yet. He hasn't got one penny. And he's screaming and hollering, talking about we are going to be vindicated. Sir, have a seat. Your blood pressure is rising. Chill out. Then Rosengart stands up and goes, when he said, will vindicate us, something like as soon as he said, it needs to be unsealed and it will vindicate us, Rosengart stood up and was going to interrupt, which like is not usual, like is unusual. It's like kind of considered to be inappropriate. And so Big Sloppy's still talking. He goes, I'm not done yet. And then Rosengart kind of like sits down and is like, okay, bro, like, it was just really obvious. Like Matt Rosengart was like the cool guy in the room, and Alex was kind of on defense. And like, I mean, y'all have all seen it before. That same dynamic of like the loser who has no friends and is like a loser, like getting mad and angry because like the cool guy who's like prettier and better and smarter in every way, and who also has the upper hand and the truth on their side, is like just looking at them like they're unhinged, and they're just like yelling and sweating and spitting and like, I don't even want to know what the inside mask looked like after he was done, because he was sweating and glistening and gleaming in the courtroom. Like, I was concerned he might have a heart attack, Big Sloppy. And this was like the first thing he stood up and said. Like, it was out the gate rage. So then Big Sloppy's still standing up somehow, and he says, I want an opportunity to respond to those objections. He said, I think I am entitled to fees. I am entitled to keep pulling money out of Britney, out of Britney's hard-earned money. He said, Rosengart is trying to choke my client off from the estate funds, which is absolutely what Rosengart is trying to do. Jamie is not entitled to estate funds. He should be choked off from estate funds. I mean, the law is clear. Jamie is not entitled to this money. So then he goes, I think 150 days is way too long. I think we only need 90 days. We're ready to go to trial in 90 days. 150 days is short enough. Is too long. It's too long in the future. We're ready to go. The reason he would have said that is 150 days gives Matthew Rosengart a longer time to prepare his case against Big Sloppy and Team Con. But 90 days gives Rosengart less time to prepare his case against Team Con. So obviously, Big Sloppy is going to want less time. So he says it should only be 90 days, not 150. And then he goes, I also want to address the allegations that Rosengart made about cooperation with discovery. He said, I got involved in October. I have nothing to hide. I told the prior lawyers in this case to hand me over their full case files, and I just sent them over to Rosengart. He said, nothing was hidden. Everything was disclosed. He said, Matthew Rosengart is utter and complete nonsense. He said, Rosengart has all the info, but the public doesn't have it. Thank you so much, Jana. Or is it Yana? He's there's only part of this story being told right now. He said, everything, Your Honor, has been approved by you. So if Rosengart is acting like people are being improper, he's being disrespectful to you and the court because he's calling you wrong. And Matthew Rosengart stood up and goes, Your Honor, I would like, and this was like the moment y'all probably all heard about already, I would like for Alex or Mr. Weingarten to be admonished for his demonstrably false statements. Thank you, Jacob. His false statements and lies. He should be ashamed of himself standing up in this courtroom lying to you, Your Honor. That's who should be ashamed. He said, I have been generous with Alex. He said, but he has attacked me personally, and it is intolerable. He knows. The worst part, Your Honor, is that he knows that what he's saying is a lie. And he's trying to shift because he's on the defense. It's a classic strategy, Your Honor. When you're a lawyer on defense, you turn it around and put yourself on offense. And that's a fine strategy. I've used it myself before. But you cannot put yourself on offense with straight up lies and demonstrably false statements. And y'all, at that point, I was sweating. I had chills. I was looking around, trying not to look around too hard because you never know if you're going to get kicked out the courtroom for making a gesture. And I was just like, and we have these masks and we're all just looking at each other like, oh my God, it's going down for real. And it was just, that was the tone, the mood at the moment. Everybody's writing, like my hand is like going, it's like that's the climax. Matt Rosengart called him a liar. He said he's lying and he knows he's lying. Jamie knows it's a lie. They all know it's a lie. They are defensive and they're trying to put themselves on the offense. And you know what? It ain't going to work in front of me. I got the wrong one is basically what he said. He said, It's a false accusation. He said, but we do agree on one thing. The one thing we agree on, the public does deserve to know the truth. And the public has the right to know the truth. He said, you know what's really interesting, Your Honor? And he started calming down a little bit. He said he had a lot to say. This is a paraphrase. He had a lot to say running his mouth 5 seconds ago. But you know what he didn't say? That James Spears, his client, did not surveil his daughter. He did not say that that never happened. He did not say there was no illegal surveillance. He did not say there was no legal surveillance. He did not mention that because there is credible evidence that Jamie did illegally surveil his daughter. So all this yapping that Big Sloppy is doing is irrelevant. He said he is disgraceful. He should be admonished and he should be ashamed. He said, let's put Jamie on the stand and see what he says about that surveillance because his lawyer has a lot to say in court today. He said, Your Honor, I did not initiate these allegations. He said, I didn't plant that story in the media. He said, just so the record is clear, I learned about this whistleblower and this surveillance along with the rest of the world when the New York Times put out their documentary controlling Britney Spears. He said, the notion that I planted this story is preposterous and this attorney, Big Sloppy, should be admonished from doing it in this courtroom. He said he outrageously falsely stated that I planted this story. He's trying to go on the offense. They came from a whistleblower who has not only been treated as credible by the New York Times itself, but has also been treated as credible by by this former FBI agent. And he goes, Your Honor, Big Sloppy has basically called this a news story or a article in the news. He said, this is not the National Enquirer, Your Honor. This is the New York Times. And they have corroborated the whistleblower's story and said that they saw the evidence themselves. We have retained a former special agent from the FBI. And she has very diligently interviewed the whistleblower and independently deemed him credible and corroborated his statements. Alex Weingarten should be admonished for his false statements in court today. And Brenda Penny goes, okay, yeah, but we're not litigating that today. She said, really, the whole point that we're here today for is because we're trying to get a court date for the calendar. We're going to argue all the merits of this case at a later time. I'm not going to grant the fee petition today. Rosengart said, but nevertheless, Your Honor, he is a liar and he should withdraw his lies on the record. He said he can be a zealous advocate, but he cannot lie. I love that. I love calling people liars. And when they're lying, just call him a liar. He's lying. Say what it is. Brenda Penny goes, okay, maybe he's lying, maybe he's not, but the truth is all going to come out. And she is right about that. Then she said something that came as a surprise to me. She said, now, once this goes to trial, I'm not going to be the judge on this case. Y'all are going to go to a different courtroom called the Long Cause Courtroom. And she said, first, all the discovery has to be complete. I cannot get you a trial date until the discovery is complete. I need some file by dates for the Ingham 3 petition and the Loeb and Loeb fees. You need to tell me, Rosengart. Brenda goes to Rosengart. You need to tell me when you're going to file your oppositions to people's fees, and I need to have a deadline for that so they can have an opportunity to respond. We can get all our discovery on the calendar, et cetera, et cetera. Rosengart goes, well, it just depends on when we get the rest of the outstanding discovery, and that would include the communications between Jamie and his lawyers regarding the surveillance. Weingarten, Big Sloppy, says he'll mail all the discovery by tomorrow, which would have been the 20th. Rosengart's like, okay, LOL. Okay, so now he thinks service by mail. Oh, because they had kind of gotten into a fight over like serving things by mail versus email. So then Brenda Penny goes, okay, fine. Look, for the termination order, everyone agrees I can sign that. That will be signed this week. Letter B, the motion by Lori Ann Wright, which is Jody Montgomery's lawyer, to seal the entire termination plan. And I do have a video on that. I do not think the entire termination plan should be sealed. Brenda Penny goes through this long legal analysis about because Britney Spears is a celebrity, that the termination plan should be sealed in its entirety, even though it was not narrowly tailored. Now, this is going to be a very long legal analysis, so I think what I want to do is have Christopher Melcher come on my channel next week, and we will get into the nitty-gritty of exactly why it is weird that this termination order is going to be sealed. But for the purposes of getting through this video and just letting y'all know what happened, I'm not going to get too much into that. But it is concerning to me, so I do want y'all to just put a pin in it, and we'll talk about it in a little later, like maybe next week. Yeah, so basically she did determine to seal Britney's termination plan. We'll get into the reasons why in a video next week. Okay, and I wrote bullshit and put it in a box, so put a pin in that. And okay. So then y'all might have seen on Andy's Popcorn Planet's video a while back, Britney's not really free because there was this judgments petition, this motion to what was it? A substituted judgment motion where it basically would have allowed John Zabel to step into the shoes of Britney Spears for purposes of getting all her assets back into her trust. Now, you will also know that that was never signed. So in court on Wednesday, the motion was withdrawn. So basically, it doesn't exist. It's gone. It was denied without prejudice, but that substitute motion thing, it's gone forever. Britney is 100% in complete and total control of everything. Nobody is stepping in her shoes. Nobody is substituting her judgment. Nobody is holding on to her money. Nobody is doing any of that. It's her money just as much as your money is your money. You know what I mean? Like, that's over. That's canceled. It has been mooted. And then the lawyer, Justin Gold, just said, we just need authorization to transfer Britney's money to her within the next 7 days because John Zabel's authority as the temporary conservator expired on Wednesday and it was not renewed. Thank you so much, Susie. Thank you, Riley Del Rio. They are leeches. It's all of them just trying to get money. Rosengart called it circling the wagon. There's this saying, like in the old Wild West, there was like, horses and buggies and they would have a wagon behind. And then there would be these bandits waiting on the roads, and they would jump out and circle around the wagon with their horses and they would have weapons and they would steal from you because you're just out there in the desert and there's these bandits circling your wagon. And Rosengart said they're all circling the wagon now that the conservatorship is over, and it's vile and disgusting that they're all just trying to getting money off of her. Like, it's pretty bad. So David Nelson, again, Loeb and Loeb, who did no work. They barely spoke. They were supposed to help do all this forensic accounting. They're supposed to do all this stuff. I don't barely even heard them speak in court other than now trying to get their money. David Nelson comes in. He's already gotten 80% of his fees. They're over here bitching and complaining about 20% fees right here. All of this for 20% fees. He pipes up again. He goes, I have concerns with substantial fees. And he says, Your Honor, could we take the total of everything that's at dispute here, like all of our lawyer fees, and just set that in a reserve and just have the court take care of that in case, so that we can make sure that we have our money. And basically implying that, like, if the court orders Britney to pay fees, that she's going to, not have enough money to pay it. Like, that was the implication from this Loeb and Loeb attorney. And remember, this is not a person that's Jamie's lawyer. This Loeb and Loeb attorney was Britney's attorney. And now they're implying that Britney is going to, maybe just not have enough money to pay his $100,000 in fees or whatever it is. Thank you, Danielle. He says, Alex Weingarten then stands up and goes, yeah, Your Honor, Rosengart already agreed to a reserve in fees. Now, a reserve would be like a pile of money set aside for these lawyers to keep dipping their hands into. And the conservatorship is over. There's no need to take someone's money. The conservatorship is over. These freaking grifting leeches. So now we have two lawyers hollering and screaming about a reserve, talking about, Your Honor, make sure we put that money aside. They're still treating Britney Spears, a 40-year-old woman, as if she's too stupid to be able to follow a court order. I'm pretty sure Britney Spears, if ordered by the court to pay some money, is going to freaking pay it. So Rosengart goes, that is a misrepresentation. I never said that I would reserve a fee. He said, none of these people are entitled to a reserve. There's no legal basis for this. None of these people are entitled to reserve, and none of these people are entitled in advance. And then Brenda Penny goes, well, plus, who has the total? Has anyone added up all the total of all the money that's owed to all the people? Like, what would I even say? Like, oh, put a reserve of $6 million. Like, what would I even say? Like, what amount do you even, did anyone bother to add up what the reserve would be, basically? This is paraphrasing, right? I'm just giving all the gist. She said, and what's the plan to have access to these funds? Because she's not in a conservatorship. So where's that money even going to be held? Rosengart goes, Your Honor, it is Britney's money. Britney has a right to her money. These people do not have a right to her money. She has no plans to go start spending all her money and blow all her money. Like, why is that what's being suggested here? And then Brenda goes, well, there are a lot of parties who may be entitled to something. You know, we can't say for sure they're not entitled to anything. And Rosengart goes, maybe. But if that's the case, then we will deal with it at that time. He said, it's not going to, this is funny. He goes, Your Honor, we're not going to put all her assets, she's not going to put all her assets in a Swiss bank account. And I thought that was a little bit like interesting given the Panama, piece here. Like Rosengart mentioning a Swiss bank account. Like, what do you mean? Why are you mentioning a Swiss bank account? You know what I mean? I don't know. It could be a total coincidence. I'm being a conspiracy theorist right now. But anyway, I just thought it was funny. He goes, it's not going to a Swiss bank account. And he goes, again, Your Honor, I need to just to remind everyone here, it's her money. It's not these people's money. It's Britney Spears' money. If she's ordered by a court to pay something, I'm pretty sure she's going to pay it. She's not going to want to go to jail or be held in contempt of court. And then here comes the Loeb and Loeb lawyer. Your Honor, again, this was Britney's former lawyer. Your Honor, her assets are subject to the court's jurisdiction. Thank you, Anita. He said the court has authority to reserve the debts that are owed by the estate. And I want the court to hold a reserve. Then Justin Gold goes, look, listen, we just represent the former conservator of the estate, John Zabel. We're going to do whatever the court orders. We're not fighting over this. We don't have a skin in the game about a reserve or not a reserve. We're good. We're Gucci. We're fine. He was not trying to get into all that. Good job, Justin. Thank you. Appreciate it. Then Rosengart goes, look, listen, only thing we need done today is Britney's actual hard-earned money that belongs to her transferred to her name because it is hers. That is all I'm worried about today. Britney's money being transferred to her. There's no reason for a reserve. There's no reason for an advance. There's no legal authority for a reserve or an advance. Then Brenda Penny goes, yeah, I mean, to be honest, thank you, Desmond. To be honest, I don't even know what the total fees are to even say for a reserve. And then Big Sloppy stands up. You know, Big Sloppy's going to be mad because he got to get his money. His money, Big Sloppy's got to get it. He's got his grubby hands in the estate pot. He said, well, I have a suggestion. Why don't we extend the conservatorship of the estate just one more hearing? We let John Zabel hold the assets of the estate until the next hearing. The issue of fees will be resolved in discovery, and then there does need to be a reserve held if that's not the case. Rosengart goes, no, a reserve is inappropriate. John Zabel needs to turn the money over to Britney because his duties end today. We do not need to drag this out for one moment longer. And then here comes Ingham. You know, he's going to make a special case for his special fees. Ingham says, Your Honor, the code actually has a different set of guidelines for paying the court-appointed counsel. It actually contemplates the possibility that this can happen. And the court must determine Britney's ability to pay. You know, will Rosengart give an assurance that Britney will be able to afford our fees, you know, based on code 14.372? And then he goes, I mean, she does have very substantial resources, but I just hope she doesn't transfer it, to a trust in the Bahamas. So again, we have another person on this conservatorship case talking about transferring money to an offshore bank account or an offshore trust. Again, first it was Swiss, now it's Bahamas. And it's like, maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist. But how much of the Britney's money is in Swiss and Panama and Bahamas bank accounts? I don't know. Maybe none. I don't know. So then Justin Gold comes in and says, "Oh no, don't put my client in charge of anything. Don't put Justin Gold in charge of anything. Don't put John Zabel in charge of anything because his power's in today and he wants out of this. He doesn't. That's not how it's going to work. He's not the conservator of the estate." Then David Nelson from Loeb and Loeb goes, "Yes, he is. He is still the conservator of the estate as of today." And then Brenda Penny goes, "Yeah, but that's expiring today. He's not going to be the conservatorship of the estate tomorrow." Then Brenda goes to Rosengart and goes, "Do you have an issue with paying Loeb and Loeb? So can we just pay Loeb and Loeb?" And Rosengart goes, "Yes, there is an issue with paying Loeb and Loeb. Britney needs her money. If fees are owed, and we will find that out at trial, she will, I'm assuming, pay." He's like, "I'm not her, but I'm assuming she's going to pay anything that money is owed." He goes, "The court can order funds. Britney can pay the fees, or one of her representatives, her business manager, whoever. And then there's no reason for a reserve. There's no reason for a conservator to hold on to her money. It's her money, and the court has ended the conservatorship." And then Nelson goes, "Yeah, but there are very many fee petitions, and overall it's a substantial amount of money." And Brenda goes, "Okay, but today let's talk about the order that Justin Gold asked for, which was the substituted judgment petition that he had withdrawn." He said, then Alex Weingarten stands up. He's mad. He's cranky. He's sweating. He's spittling. I'm assuming. I didn't see it because he had a mask on. But he said, "Okay, well, fine, Your Honor. If he's not going to give a reserve, then Rosengart needs to give a representation that Britney is going to pay fees if she's ordered to pay fees." And Rosengart said, if she needs to pay and she's ordered by a court to pay, then she will pay. I don't understand why we need a whole bucket of money over here sitting to the side. That's her money that nobody has any entitlement to until it is determined that they're entitled to it. So then Brenda said, "Why don't we take 15 minutes? You people all go look at the code, come back and give me some actual legal precedent. Because right now all y'all are talking about is he has authority, he doesn't have authority, she has authority, doesn't have authority. It's Britney's money. I want to see the law. So can we take a 15-minute recess? Y'all go figure out the law and then come back and tell it to me. Thank you so much, Tina." Alex goes, "You know what, Your Honor? Why don't we get an opportunity to brief it? We come back in a week and then we decide in a week." And Brenda goes, and then Rosengart goes, that is absolutely preposterous and unnecessary. We do not need a week. We do not have 15 minutes. There is no legal precedent for him to do this. So then we went ahead and took a break around 2:55. We went outside. People, there was like a power outage. So we didn't end up back in court until 3:25. They're pulling people back up on the Zoom screen. The whole power of the courthouse had gone out. Like the internet, like everything went out. So during the break, which I thought was weird, but coincidences, Okay. So the court is called back to order. And I can kind of tell y'all about like what was discussed during the break when hopefully Christopher accepts my invitation because he was in the courtroom, and we can kind of talk a little bit more about like what was going on outside in the break and what people were doing and stuff. All that, I'm trying to it's already been like over an hour. I'm trying to be done and check out of this hotel and go on my vacation. But anyway, so Brenda said, okay, so then we come back. Calls court back to order. Okay. So Judge Penny goes, "Okay, everyone involved. Haha, I didn't know that the break would include a power outage, but I guess it did. Haha, whatever." She makes allusion to that. And she goes, "I'm not going to order a reserve." Alex stands up, big sloppy, and starts yelling at her. And he goes, "Well, Your Honor, I would just like to read the transcript from last time." Again, she's already said, thank you, Vamp Diva. She's already said, "I'm not ordering a reserve." And Alex Weingarten stands up and starts yelling at her about reading a transcript from last hearing. And he goes, at the transcript from last time, Matthew Rosengart brought up his concerns regarding reserves and assurances. Also with Lynn Spears fees, we want to make sure that there will be money available. We want to make sure there's going to be no issue. We want Matt Rosengart to provide assurance and there's going to be money available to pay all these lawyers, these 15 different freaking entities and people. Rosengart said it at the last hearing that that money will be maintained. So we today, Your Honor, Alex Weingarten, after Judge Brenda Penny already said twice, I'm not ordering a reserve. Alex Weingarten is trying to get her to change her mind. Big Sloppy screaming at her, saying that there needs to be a reserve or a representation. Like a representation meaning, thank you, Michelle. A representation meaning he wanted Matt Rosengart to say, Your Honor, Britney will pay if she's ordered to pay, which is basically what he said, but he can't force Britney to do anything, which is why he's saying, I'm sure that she will pay. Like, I don't know. She's not sitting here, but it makes sense that she would pay it. But then Rosengart said, she doesn't need to be subject to this. The conservatorship is terminated. There is no reason to overcomplicate it. Rosengart said, if I get an order, Britney will presumably pay. Alex Weingarten, Big Sloppy, is trying to dictate to this court what I will do and what the court will do. And he has no authority to do that. He's just trying to be a dictator. What is he doing? You've already told him no, and he's standing up hollering and screaming. Then here comes David Nelson from Loeb and Loeb. Again, can't read the room. He goes, actually, you do have authority, Your Honor, under Code 2630. It says that terminating the conservatorship doesn't cause the court to lose jurisdiction. We just want the court to retain jurisdiction over the assets that would pay us. Which is either he's a stupid idiot who doesn't deserve a law license, or he was intentionally trying to mislead the court. And he's just like doesn't understand, and he does understand what he's saying, but he was misleading the court. And hopefully it's just he's stupid and not that he's malicious. But jurisdiction over a case does not mean you have authority over someone's bank account. Imagine every time you went to a lawsuit, all of a sudden the judge had authority over everything in your bank account or even anything in your bank account. They don't. That's not how it works. The conservatorship's over. If there's orders for fees, she will have to pay them at that time. But there's no jurisdiction, has nothing to do with the court being allowed to just hold money in its hand. That has nothing to do with anything. So Rosengart goes, Your Honor, I don't know why, this is paraphrasing here. He's like, I don't know why Loeb and Loeb is in here yapping their jaw anyway. They've already been paid 80% of their fees. He said, effectively, it's like they're effectively attacking their former client, which is like a bad look. I'm not really sure ethically why they're doing that. And jurisdiction, he basically said what I said. Thank you, JT Ravino. He basically said what I said, which was, jurisdiction doesn't have anything to do with the appropriateness of taking money from Britney and saying that she's not entitled to it. She is entitled to 100% of her money, period. And then Brenda goes, yeah, but, the jurisdiction question, Loeb and Loeb is probably still right. Then Alex Weingarten stood up and said, Rosengart at the last hearing that he would represent that there would be money available. And he's screaming and he's hollering and Big Sloppy is standing up and he's going, and let's not forget why Britney was put in this conservatorship in the first place. And it was because she was irresponsible with her money, which if Big Sloppy had read any of the articles in the case, he would know the reason Britney was put into this conservatorship was because his client and his client's lawyers lied and said Britney Spears had dementia. And they lied and said they would produce a doctor and documentation saying that Britney had dementia, and they never did it. The reason Britney is in this conservatorship is because his client lied and perjured himself and has been continuing to lie, steal, traffic, and do everything else within his power to maintain control over Britney, the person, Britney, the brand, and Britney's body. That's why Britney is in a conservatorship. But Alex Liar Weingarten, aka Big Sloppy, stood up and lied in court again and said the reason why Britney was put in a conservatorship is because she was irresponsible with her money. Well, let me tell you something, Big Sloppy. I'm not licensed in California yet, but it's soon. Don't worry. It's going to be very soon because I don't want to have to freaking keep saying this shit. I might start studying for the California bar. So let me just tell you something, Big Sloppy, about yourself and about how the law works. You don't get to dictate to the court what they're going to do. And as a conservatorship lawyer, you should know being irresponsible with your money is not legal grounds for a conservatorship. Being irresponsible with your money is legal grounds for perhaps bankruptcy, but not a conservatorship. So you misled not only the judge, but the public in open court when you lied and said that you even implied that being irresponsible with money was even a way you could get into a conservatorship. And if that is indeed the reason that they put her in it, then it's a moot conservatorship on its face, and your client should return all $6 million of the dollars that he's gotten. Bet you he spent that on fill in the blanks. Okay, so yeah, he basically blamed Britney for being irresponsible with her. They're victim blaming Britney. Big Sloppy is standing up, screaming, spittling, sweating, and yelling at the judge that Britney is irresponsible with her money and implying that for some reason she's going to spend it all and not pay Jamie. And you know what, Britney? If you're watching this, which I don't have any reason to believe you are, but if you ever do watch this, girl, and you want to spend every single dollar of your money, do it. That's not legal advice. That's just personal advice. Okay. Then Brenda, after Weingarten's big thing, Rosengart stands up and starts yelling and says, like, you need to withdraw that. You need to stop. Don't even go there. Don't even bring it up. I've been more than generous. Like, he got like Daddy Rosengart in there. Like, he daddied out. He it seemed like he felt protective over Britney in that moment. So then Brenda goes, okay, that's cute. I'm not ordering a reserve. There will be no reserve. So there was a sigh of relief. A tension release. Okay. Then they move on to the fees of Jody and Jody's lawyer, which totaled about right under $30,000. And Brenda asked Rosengart. She said, "Okay, Rosengart, are you going to object to Jody's fees, or are you going to object to Lorianne Wright's fees?" And Rosengart did not object, and so they approved about a little under $30,000 to go to Jody and her lawyer. Then we went to Lynn's lawyer's fees. And again, I don't think Lynn's lawyer should be getting fees, but it don't really matter what I think. I just wanted to put out my opinion. So first, Yasha Bronstein. So he stands up, or he's on Zoom, and he says, "We have been instrumental since 2019 when Britney gave her explosive testimony in 2019. Her mother walked in hand into this courtroom with her. He said, we were able to help Britney retain private independent counsel. We were able to help terminate the conservatorship. And they said they did the heavy lifting. They got things done. They were value added. And given all the other lawyers in the case, they actually are very cheap, low cost. We supported ending the conservatorship, and nobody has objected to our fees." And Rosengart said, okay. Then Bronstein, Lynn's lawyer, kept talking and said, if Rosengart is going to object to our fees, can we request and ask that he do it quickly? Because we want to get it. We're tired of, keeping coming back basically, or whatever. And he's like, but also on our fees alone, thank you, Johanna. On our fees alone, can we get like a separate hearing? Cause we don't really want to be in the middle of like all the trial and stuff. Like, we kind of want a separate hearing just for our fees. Lynn's lawyer said this. Rosengart said, okay, fine. By February 28th, we will have filed our objections to all the fees. And we will come back maybe first part of March to talk about Bronstein fee petition. So they did set a date for that, March 16th at 1:30 p.m. Y'all write it down. March 16th at 1:30 p.m. Bronstein fee petition will be heard, and that's just Lynn's lawyer's fee petitions. Brenda said the other fee petitions for all the rest, maybe we can shoot for June. Rosengart wanted July or August. Brenda wanted enough time to do discovery. And y'all know it's always a huge fiasco trying to get these lawyers to agree on dates. Then they're going to come back on, so we do have one court date, July 27th is when they're going to come back and hear issues 5005, 5007, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 1. So I can like maybe try and make a list of what these are at the end or something. But that's not the trial. So remember, there's going to be a trial on the accounting. Two big issues: fees and accounting. Now, within the accounting bucket, there are fees, but we're really talking about lawyer fees over here and the accounting over here. The accounting is going to get its own trial. We have not set the date for that yet. The fees, we're going to come back after they've, done a little more discovery. So then Weingarten says, I want to file a motion to unseal all the records. And Rosengart says, and then Alex says, I want all the records to be unsealed, and I want the court to hear that on February 17th. So less than a month. Rosengart said, absolutely not. First of all, that is a really big deal that he's trying to unseal everything in this case after the fact that we've all agreed for months and months and months and years and years and years and years that Britney's certain of her confidential information should not be unsealed. But second of all, if he really wants to do that, we're going to need more than 1 month to file our objections and all of that. We should not unseal Britney's medical records. Alex and Jamie should seriously reconsider even considering doing that. And there's no reason to jam up Britney and all her lawyers with this extra sideshow bullcrap, basically. And Alex Big Sloppy stands up and goes, but Rosengart hasn't even seen what we're going to file, so I don't even know why he's getting so mad. Rosengart goes, it's an inappropriate motion. It's a major motion to unseal all this stuff that's been sealed. And they want to unseal years of records that implicates our privacy. And all of this is just for the purpose of Jamie Spears to defend himself. This isn't in Britney's best interest. And he said, a father who loves his child, a father who loves his daughter, thank you, Hope, would never do this. So really, he should reconsider doing it at all. But if he's going to do it, February 17th is way too soon. We need to push that off too. Then Alex goes, we do have another housekeeping issue. The objections that Matthew Rosengart filed were not even verified. No one verified them or signed them. Then Brenda goes, okay, well, the court probate attorney will handle that. If there's anything wrong with it, if there's anything deficient with it, the court probate attorney will handle that. Then Rosengart goes, we need at least until April or May for this unsealing the records fiasco. He said, I don't want a premature date because we need time to meaningfully argue this issue on its merits. And Penny said, okay, well, the calendar is already getting pretty full for, all these months. It might not be till August anyway. Like, I have a lot of stuff going on my calendar, like a lot of stuff. I don't even know. She said, I have to look at 3 different calendars in order to schedule a motion calendar. So it's like y'all fighting over whether it's going to be in February or March or April is maybe even irrelevant because I might not even be able to get you in until like July or August anyway, is basically what Brenda Penny said. And then Rosengart said, okay, but I would like an order from you stating that you will not schedule the hearing before, April. And Alex stands up, tries to yap his jaw. And then Rosengart also goes, and you know what else? The motion to quash the subpoena. Do y'all remember when everyone thought the hearing was canceled because they took one issue off calendar? They took thank you, Queen Lorene. You're welcome. They took that motion to quash the subpoena off the calendar. So what that means is Rosengart had asked to depose TriStar, which would be, Lou Taylor, and Robin Greenhill. And everyone kind of agreed to pull that off the calendar. Hold on. He served a motion to depose them. Then TriStar and Robin filed something with the court saying we should not have to do that. It's called a motion to quash. Motion to get rid of Rosengart saying he wants to depose them. And so instead of arguing that issue, they just took it off the calendar. Well, Rosengart's saying, all right, we haven't been able to come up with an agreement, so that needs to go back on the calendar too, whether or not they're going to show up for a deposition, right? Like there's tons of things going on in this case, in this hearing, like 15 issues. Then TriStar's lawyer goes, my client was falsely accused in these documents, and we want to be put back on the service list because we didn't even receive it and the media got it before us. Blah, 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 blah. Imagine being TriStar's lawyer. Like, imagine the type of person you have to be. Can't relate. Then Ingham goes, I no longer have access to the case file on the portal, and I want to be put back on because I keep asking everyone for these filings. Well, bitch, why didn't you save them why didn't you save it? And then he's like, I'm not able to get all the filings. Well, we have to pay for filings. We're not in this case, and we have to pay for filings. When we get filings, we have to pay for them. I paid $53 for the most recent filings. So maybe you can spend some of the several millions of dollars you made on Britney Spears and buy the filings. Like, why do you get access back to the portal? Why don't I get access to the portal? Why don't everybody just get access to the portal? That's just me ranting. Hold on. So there's me. We're almost done, y'all. Last page. So Ingham then asks Judge Penny to set a file by date, meaning force Matthew Rosengart to do his objections by a certain date for the various fee petitions. Remember those 10, 11 fee petitions? Rosengart says, I can file them by 30 days before the July 27th hearing. And so he's going to file all his objections to the fee petitions by June 27th. So that's a good ways off. So we have a little bit of time before we have to worry about these fee petitions again. But they probably will, be a lot of drama leading up to the July 27th hearing about all the people's different fees and things. And then Vivian and Geraldine apparently haven't been receiving all of the notice on the cases either, and they want to receive them as well. Alex Weingarten then asks that everybody moving forward in the case start serving things by email instead of paper mail. And then at exactly 4:20, appropriately, the hearing ended. And that was it. So there was a lot of stuff that happened on that break. There was a lot of stuff that happened in the courtroom before, and we can kind of talk about that later. But I did want to just have like my notes, going over my notes. This was my notes from the hearing. Yeah, so again, I don't really have the most time to hang out for Q&A today. We have like things to do, but I did want to come on and just tell y'all my notes from court. Thank you so much to everybody who did, super chats and super stickers. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, I think I also am going to post something on my Patreon later, like a vlog or something, but I'm in Vegas. I'll be doing this. I'll be having fun and living my best life and all of that. I'm so thankful that y'all care so much about this case. Like, that's the reason I travel to court, is because right now there's almost 2,000 people watching this who are concerned about what is going on in these courtrooms. And I am so happy that y'all care about it. And that's why y'all keep watching, and I'm gonna keep going. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, turn on your notifications, all of the different, make sure you follow me on Instagram, because sometimes I just go live on there. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone, for your super chats. I will talk to you all very, very soon. What? Oh, Popcorn Planet. Andy from Popcorn Planet has an interview coming out today, I think right now. 2 minutes from now or 30 minutes from now? 2 minutes? Andy Popcorn Planet, right now, go right now, is airing an interview with Jamie Lynn Spears' first father's child, Maddie's dad, with his sister, Casey Aldridge, with Maddie's dad. Andy from Popcorn Planet has Maddie's dad's sister. He's doing an interview 1 minute from now. Go to Popcorn Planet. I'm a big supporter of that channel. Facts ain't defamation. Love you, Mina K. Bye.